everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The Truest Crime. In this episode, we will be discussing the case of 19-year-old Danny Chen, who was an Asian American man who served in the U.S. Army. So, let's get right into the case. Sit down, grab a snack, and let's take a deep dive into the truest crime. Danny Chen was born May 26, 1992, in New York City. He was attending Pace University High School as a teenager and then went to the City University of New York after graduating high school. But Danny had other plans and decided to enlist in the U.S. Army, and this would end up being terrible for Danny. Danny was deployed to Afghanistan, and during the time he was there, he would be constantly ridiculed, harassed, and hazed by his fellow soldiers. Danny would be called racial and derogatory names because of his nationality. The torment was a lot for Danny to take, and for a while he tried his best to just take it in stride, but eventually it would be too much for Danny to take. Adam Holcomb, Ryan Offutt, Travis Carden, and Andrew Van Bockel were just some of Danny's harassers. They would constantly make Danny feel like he didn't belong there, and the more they tormented him, the more he struggled. One night, Danny had been taking a shower and had forgotten to turn off the water heater afterwards, and so then the men had their chance. Danny had been dragged out of bed and across the floor like a rag doll, simply because these men felt like bullying him and making him feel unwelcome and unwanted. Unfortunately, on October 11th, 2011, the bullying had gotten so bad that Danny couldn't take it anymore and ended up taking his own life by a self-inflicted gunshot wound. This would lead to an internal investigation, and it would be found out that Danny had mentioned previously wanting to end his own life, but was disregarded. Adam Holcomb, Ryan Offutt, Travis Carden, and Andrew Van Bockel would all be held accountable for Danny's death. Unfortunately, these men would only spend a small amount of time in jail, and each had different charges, which there is a very long list of. And I feel awful that Danny had to endure some of the worst bullying. Not only was it verbal, but it was also physical. And the fact that he even had to endure physical abuse from his fellow soldiers is just awful. And I couldn't imagine having to deal with something like that by people who you thought were your friends or people that you're fighting alongside, and they just disregard you like a piece of trash. Danny at no point deserved what had happened to him, and the fact that he was tormented by people who he thought he could trust, not to mention people who were serving our country, it astounds me that people could be that reckless. And the fact that they would beat up on him and all kinds of other stuff, like it shouldn't have happened, bar none. Like it shouldn't have happened. And I can't imagine what his family went through, and I find it hard to believe that they would only spend a little bit of time in jail. Each one of them spent some time in jail, but not to the point where they would have gotten the maximum sentence, because it wasn't caused directly by them, but caused indirectly by them, which is just, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable to me. It really is. My thoughts on this case in particular are that nobody should bully anybody. Nobody should be judgmental of somebody's race, gender identity, and you know, other things that go along with that. But I personally think that bullies who do these kind of things to other people are unhappy in their own lives and feel that the best way to do that, you know, to cope with what they're dealing with, is to take it out on other people, which is by no means okay at all. And it happens more now than ever, especially with internet stuff, and as I talked about in my last case that had everything to do with the internet. Now, especially in places like TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, things like that, it happens all of the time. But in the mid-2010s, to have that happen physically to someone, especially somebody who is actively fighting in the military, and then having it be the fellow soldiers who are doing this to him, and it's terrible. And I can't imagine what Danny's family went through after this had happened, and for him to just be completely dismissed after talking to a supervisor and telling him what he's been thinking and spilling it out for him, and to be disregarded. That's so horrible. Why? Like, I don't get that. Nobody should be disregarded, especially if it has everything to do with mental health and everything to do with other people causing their mental health to deteriorate in a not good way. And I'm sure that anybody will agree with me. And I feel very strongly on this subject, and those of you who watched my last video, you understand what I stand for on this channel. Danny's death was a tragedy, and it was a tragedy for a reason. And the reason for that is because these men felt so inclined to bully him based on his nationality. And, you know, like, it just irritates me, especially when people have to be racist. Why, like, I just don't understand that. Why do other people get to judge people on their identity in general? They're not entitled to know any information about that person, and they're most certainly not allowed to be hateful towards a person of another ethnicity or nationality. That's just, it's wrong. And that's my personal opinion. And I hope that you guys, or some of you at least, agree with me on that, and that, you know, for people in the military to be racist and just bigoted people for no reason other than the fact that they didn't like that he was an Asian American. It's just, it's crazy. And I am upset that we even have to show a soldier's casket in a video, but I need to show that picture because of the fact that this was somebody in our military who went through something so terrible that it led to the loss of his life. And I just, it makes me angry because I don't like racist people, and I don't like people who are judgmental of other people in general, because it is not their place to be judgmental. They are not entitled to know anything about anybody else or make fun of anybody else because they're different. It's just, it's such an old way of thinking, and I have so many strong opinions, and like I said, you guys know how I feel about this, or at least the people that watch my videos, you guys know how I feel about these things. Whether it's involving military or children or people that, you know, just didn't deserve to have their lives taken from them by others or at their own hand. Like, it shouldn't happen. And especially in 2024, things need to get better. Bullying in person needs to stop. Bullying online needs to stop. It needs to stop. Period. And that is all I'm going to say on that. And that's... I hope you guys understand what I'm trying to say in this video. I shouldn't have to show a soldier's casket, but I have to in order to kind of make a point on this video, is that bullying leads to things like that. And it's awful that it ended the way that it did. And it shouldn't have. And like I said before, I have respect for military because I come from a military family. But I would hope that nobody would do that to any of my family, what they did to Danny. It's not right. And he didn't at all deserve what happened, as I stated before, and I will continue to say that. And I hope that what I've said in this video makes sense and people kind of understand the underlying message that I am trying to convey in this video. I do hope that you guys enjoyed the video, and I want to be able to make more videos for you guys, so please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, because it does really help me be able to continue to make these videos for you guys. Thank you so much. Again, if you enjoyed the video, then I will see you on the next episode of The Truest Crime.